Hey there, this is Natalie Hunter, author and general weeb, and this is the first installment of a new series where I'm going to be putting my two favourite Isekai series head to head, in about the only way that seems appropriate. You see, there's really no point in comparing ReZero and KonoSuba on their story or characters, given they're intended to be entertaining in completely different ways. But given the similar settings and the fact they're both drawing from the same well of Isekai stuff to subvert, it is still possible to compare them in terms of which series has the deviant you'd be best off choosing for an adventuring party should you find yourself needing to do that. Yes, that's the premise of this series. In each episode, I'm going to be putting a character from KonoSuba head to head with a character from ReZero, and we're going to debate which one would ultimately be the best choice to be stuck with if you were forming an adventuring party to do isekai stuff in a fantasy world with. We're going for a party, not a harem. If you want harems, go check out my books. I've got more harems than you can shake a stick at in those. But I want to be able to put like Chomusuke in the mix here, and we probably shouldn't be doing that if it's a harem. That point is important in today's case because the first two applicants for your adventuring party are both notable for being absolute freaks, as well as having their own particular physical allure. But we're going to be thinking more about which one's kinks are going to make them a bigger liability in our party, rather than which would be the most fun for a harem member. Though, if it was the latter and you'd choose Elsa, thanks for giving up some of the short time you have left alive to watch my video. So, with all of that established, let's get ready to make our choice between Dustiness Ford La Latina, aka Darkness, a robust paladin who prides herself on being a great tank, and Elsa Granhiert, aka the Bowel Hunter, who prides herself on liking the colour of human intestines more than the normal amount. The masochistic Darkness wants to join your party because nobody else will have her, given she can't hit a cow's ass with a barn door, and she thinks you're going to be getting into enough trouble that she'll sustain regular injuries and humiliations. Elsa doesn't really care about whether you choose her, but as a jobbing assassin you can hire her, and she can be relied upon not to murder you if you do. But which is the best choice? We have a number of factors to consider, starting with combat. In a straight up fight, Elsa would win. Darkness has no attack capabilities, and even her tough body won't be enough to save her. Elsa's kukri blades would go through her armour and the prime Darkness meat underneath like butter. Then she'd probably say something like, "Noble knights have such wonderful bowels," and then squirm around making everybody uncomfortable. Elsa's definitely the better choice when it comes to attack then, but she also beats poor Darkness when it comes to defense, worryingly enough. Exactly what Elsa isn't properly clear. She's been likened to a vampire by Garfield, who's a fantasy legends otaku, although I like to imagine he instead knows what a vampire is because he passed his time in Sanctuary playing Vampire the Masquerade with Roswell. But she doesn't drink blood or have a problem with daylight, so she's more like a prettier, even more degenerate version of Deadpool. She can regenerate after what should be fatal attacks almost instantly, and she can do this a number of times in the same fight, as well as being able to negate an attack with that sweet cloak she wears. Darkness, however, does have some combat situations where she'd actually be the better choice, as long as we have someone else in our party who can deal a lot of damage, and I think we can certainly manage that in later installments of the series. If there's a mob of weaker enemies, Darkness will happily aggro them and take all of their attention away from the rest of the party, something Elsa would see no benefit in doing. You can also rely on Darkness as your meat shield in those type of situations, whereas Elsa, despite being very hard to kill, will only put herself at risk if it's likely to lead to her getting the kill she wants. Elsa then is by far the strongest for most combat styles, but Darkness does have a big upside that allows for some strategies that Elsa doesn't. The next point we're going to look at is, who would you rather have around? We can't just be utilitarian here. These are real fictional people with feelings and hopes and dreams, and if we're bringing them into our party, we're going to be offering them our friendship and camaraderie. You'd think Darkness would easily win when it comes to who'd be better to have around while you're having your isekai adventures. She's hilarious. But you know, Elsa's fun too. She's always playing around, saying stuff like, "I've never dissected a spirit's stomach before," and "I shall slaughter everyone here." Nah, Darkness wins this round. Now it's time to address the elephant in the room. Both of these candidates have predilections that are going to make them go off script and do stuff you definitely didn't ask them to do for their own gratification. But which is going to be the bigger problem, the sadist or the masochist? On the face of it, you'd think Darkness would be better to have on your side, because theoretically, she only likes getting hurt herself. She isn't going to decide to kill or torment anyone just for fun. But this is the thing, Darkness won't resist any opportunity to get into a dangerous situation, especially against very strong opponents. Elsa isn't going to start anything she can't win, but Darkness, she's going to be doing that on the regular. Counterpoint though. Darkness will open up some approaches to resolving conflict that Elsa will not. She'll happily volunteer to be used as a decoy or bait, and if you want to resolve something without violence, well, she'll offer her body to the enemy, whether you want her to or not. Counterpoint. Elsa doesn't lose control of her situation due to her particular tastes, at least not as easily as Darkness. She will kill people who weren't given to her as targets, if there's time and there's no compelling reason in her mind not to do it. But as long as you regularly give her some prey to hunt, she shouldn't randomly kill people outside of battles. But she will escalate any situation into a fight to the death, and will definitely have no qualms about collateral damage. For your safety then, Elsa is probably theoretically a better choice, as she follows the order of whoever's paying her, even when she's in the thrall of her freaky bloodlust. Darkness is a bigger liability, both to herself and your group, because she'll go rogue whenever she thinks there's the potential to get beaten up or humiliated. But when it comes to the question of whether having the sadist or the masochist in your group is better, there's also the less quantifiable factor of which one is going to have the biggest hit on morale. Both of these characters are going to be way too into things when a fight is going down, and while Darkness getting off on being hurt may sometimes be a cause of problems, it's going to be a lot less disturbing to witness than having the Bowel Hunter there getting turned on by seeing someone's pancreas. Darkness would just be a lot easier to get used to. Now, each of these applicants for the role of your party's deviant come with existing connections in the world. That will likely lead to plot lines or, happenings on your Isekai adventure, should you team up with them. But which one brings the most helpful things to the table in terms of their family and previous affiliations? Well, with Darkness you've got two pretty strong things going on here. She's from a noble family, and that's going to come in handy a lot. And she's also connected with the religious order of Eris, and that's nice for getting along in places where people worship Eris, and also potentially for getting yourself reincarnated by Eris when you die. Plus, you never know, you may end up with Eris in your party later. With Elsa, you get connections to a delightful family of psychopaths, including the Beastmaster Meili, who really loves Elsa, her adopted big sister. It's truly heartwarming. Then there's Mama. Elsa's adopted mother is absolutely terrifying as a prospect, although I won't spoil her identity as that's some Arc 5 ReZero shiz. Suffice to say though, the less you have to do with her the better, and I don't think having hired Elsa would even necessarily save you. So yeah, Darkness definitely wins this round. Now, I really want to hear who you'd pick after hearing these points, so let me know in the comments. But my own conclusion is, I'm picking Darkness. Both of these characters have strong up and downsides, with Elsa certainly being someone who'd add incredible fighting ability to a team. But for me, she's bad for the brand. If I want to be a heroic Isekai protagonist, I feel like Darkness, who's at least ostensibly noble and knightly, is just gonna put people at ease a bit more than a half-naked Ramsay Bolton psycho lady. But what about you? If you want to go for a more intimidating, edgy aesthetic with your first pick, then Elsa is undeniably a good use of a roster slot. And will I be able to make up for Darkness's uselessness on the offensive with some of the other picks? I hope you'll subscribe to see the next videos in this series to find out. As always, I'm going to close out this video with the customary begging for your likes, comments, subscribes, and the smashing of the various associated buttons, and also with a quick plug for my books, which you can find on Amazon. Link is in the description. And I have to give you the usual warning that said books are dirty and of the sort only someone like Kazuma would read, so don't check them out if you're too pure or too young for that sort of thing. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.